back from my second day at Star Wars Celebration. This is my first Star Wars Celebration ever, and it's amazing. It's seriously like everything your mind would tell you you want it to be. There's toys everywhere, amazing costumes. It's like Disneyland, but for Star Wars fans. And of course, the number one thing everyone's talking about is the new Force Awakens teaser trailer that just came out. And the new Battlefront trailer too, which looks awesome, but that's not what we're here to talk about. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, as I'm sure you are too, but I do have to warn you that I am one of those really annoying Star Wars purists. I like my Star Wars canon and story and characters and just universe to be 4, 5, and 6, anything outside of that, and I do get a little analytical, but I wanted to watch the new teaser trailer with you guys. So let's start it up. The Lucasfilm opening still sends chills down my back, which I'm sure it does to you too. I love the destroyed X-Wing. That's so, and the giant Star Destroyer. Yeah, I want that as like my new laptop background or desktop.
The Force is strong in my family.
Aw, poor Vader. He's got a burnt face.
My father hasn't.
Okay, now pause. Since I've been at Star Wars Celebration, I haven't really been able to read other people's theories, what's been confirmed, what hasn't been confirmed, and everything like that from this teaser trailer. So one of the first things I noticed right away when I watched this was, this is obviously Mark Hamill's voice, you know, Luke. And in here he says, my father has it. Has it. We know that Darth Vader is dead, for sure. Like, that's not even a question, because he came back as a ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi. So we know he is, in fact, dead. There's no way, you know, they can throw us some curveball and be like, no, he's actually alive. So this just kind of caught my attention, because, again, he says, you know, my father has it, not had. So, And that's, of course, Luke's hand.
I have it.
And I know people are saying that he's kind of passing the torch down to Han and Leia's supposed kid.
You have that power too.
This Christmas, X-Wings are my favorite. Okay, pause again. This scene made me laugh because it's obviously a bunch of stormtroopers have got lost and they've stumbled upon the Hunger Games set. And also, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the new stormtrooper armor. I have an obsession with stormtroopers. They're some of, I think, just like the most beautiful design in armor. And this new armor, especially just their face, like their helmet, I think it looks like a duck. And they don't look as angry as old stormtroopers. They put their faces together. One's way more angrier than the other. Pause again. First of all, look at that stormtrooper. He's flying in the air. He's all upside down like, ah! He's had a bad day at work. Secondly, I'm not a huge fan of the new redesign of the TIE fighters. I mean, come on, it looks like plexiglass. Looks like something I could buy at IKEA. Why did they have to redesign the TIE fighters? One of the coolest ships ever. Why do you have to redesign everything? Like, you already redesigned one of the most iconic weapons in history, the lightsaber. I get it that it's supposed to be like supposed exhaust valves or something. It still looks stupid. But then you have to go and redesign the TIE fighter as well, just because it's, you know, years and years and years and years in the future, and just because it's the next chapter doesn't mean you have to redesign everything. And pause. The ball droid. I know everybody was making fun of him in the first trailer. He's actually in this one, I think, in 2 different shots. I think he's going to be the comic relief for this film, which I guess is fine and all, but he's not going to be better than R2. There's no way he can be better than R2. R2 is the perfect comic relief. He couldn't even speak English. We didn't understand a word he said, yet he was one of the funniest characters in the whole films. I know everybody's making a really big deal about that ending scene with Han and Chewie, and you know, Han of course saying, Chewie, we're home. It's probably going to be when they first get to the Millennium Falcon. I don't know. But again, I've got to be nitpicky and be really annoying here and say I'm actually not a fan of having the original cast come back. I love them dearly, and I totally know that without the original cast we wouldn't have the Star Wars that we have today, and we probably wouldn't be in love with it as much as we are. But I already have like Han and Leia and Luke in my mind as a certain character and as a certain age, and having grown a certain amount. I kind of want to keep them in my memory that way. I don't want to see a much older Han or a much older Luke. We've seen some release photos of like the new Luke, and he's like this giant bearded homeless looking dude. That's not how I think of Luke. That's not how I remember Luke. That's not how I want to know Luke. Also, Han is like, you know, he's this sarcastic, rugged, sexy guy. And although Harrison Ford is a sexy older man, and he'll always be, you know, kind of sarcastic and rugged, I just don't see this older Han as being, you know, sexy Han. And I don't want to go into, you know, saying anything about Carrie Fisher nowadays, but I like Leia being a certain way in my mind. And I don't want to replace those memories with what the characters are now. I don't know, I just don't need that. But again, I know that's me being an annoying Star Wars purist. I know I'm annoying. I get it. I know I'm super picky and I'm overanalyzing everything. You don't need to tell me that. I already know that. But it's just, I have incorporated Star Wars into basically every aspect of my life since I was a toddler and my dad first started watching these movies with me. Star Wars is why I started collecting action figures. I've incorporated in my career. Almost every day of my life, Star Wars is in my life some way or another. So I'm really protective of that little passion bubble. And episodes 1, 2, and 3 kind of did enough damage for me that I'm even more protective of that passion bubble than before. My other big complaints here is to me, Star Wars is, even though yes there are issues with the practical effects in Star Wars, to me that's kind of what makes the original Star Wars so good, and that's what gives a lot of those ships like weight and personality and texture, is because they are practical effects. I'm a huge fan of practical effects, and it's all because of Star Wars, of the original Star Wars. Those films are why I still stand by practical effects, because the effects in the original Star Wars and in plenty of other movies that have gone and stuck with practical effects, even though they might not be as impressive and as just fancy as a lot of digital effects and CGI, they still to me just look better. They look more real than anything I've ever seen made on computers. Already, this new Star Wars trailer for The Force Awakens is already too much CG for me. It's too digital for what I view Star Wars to be. I know you can pull off a lot more with digital effects than you can with practical, but I would rather have less impressive like maneuvers and explosions and all that stuff. I'd rather have less of that and more just practical ships, practical scenery, practical sets, because to me those, again, they just feel more real to me. They have more depth, more texture. They just feel tangible. So I'm already not a fan of how much digital effects was used in just the trailer. On top of that, all I know so far is that it's only going to be released in 3D, I guess at first. It's being advertised as real 3D and IMAX 3D. I'm not seeing it being advertised anywhere that it won't be in 3D, which I find extremely disappointing because I don't need 3D to enhance my movie-going experience, and unfortunately my eyes don't read most 3D. I see 3D only when it's used as like environment or as adding depth to a shot. I never see it when anything ever flies towards the screen. When it does, like when something flies at me through 3D, it actually splits into two and gets blurry for me. So I'm already kind of disappointed there that if it's not going to come to theaters in 3D at least right away, that means I'm already going to get not a full experience because I can't see, my eyes just cannot see 3D like I guess most other people do. You know, and what if people don't want to see it in 3D? I know it was all shot in 3D, but why? Why? Can't we enjoy movies without the added 3D, even just added for dimensions and distance? Do we really need that? I don't. I can enjoy a film if it's not 3D. I don't need that. And I guess a lot of people need it and expect it. To stop talking your faces off, what did you guys think of the new Star Wars Force Awakens trailer? What were some of the things you didn't like? What were some of the things you loved? Did it make you more excited for the film? Are you least excited about it? Tell me everything. I want to hear it all. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I totally love you.